Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Divinely Crowned Conversations podcast. I am your girl, Davina, and I am so happy and grateful that you decided to tune into this episode of the Divinely Crowned Conversations podcast. I'm so excited for tonight's interview with my divine guest. But before I bring her on, I just want to, check in with you guys and remind you of a few things. So, first, make sure you are liking this video, sharing this video. You know, your girl loves when y'all comment and interact with my guest and I. So, make sure you do so. And also, just a reminder, I just posted today, we are 4 days away from the Divinely Crowned Lovers and Friends soiree, and then 17 days from ticket sales ending. So just make sure you get those tickets ASAP, because y'all know your girl don't be playing about the deadlines, okay? But yeah, so tonight I have with me my divine guest, Mrs. Michelle Cooley. So I'm getting ready to bring her on, and we're gonna get this conversation started. Hello.
Hello, Davina. Hello,
Hello.
everyone.
So this is Michelle Cooley. So Michelle, I am going to have you introduce yourself, and then we will get into this.
Like she said, my name is Michelle Cooley. I am a mental health therapist, and I'm just glad to be here today and to be chatting with Davina, the
Yeah.
divinely crowned.
And she's giving y'all the basics right now, but we about to get really into it. And we already got our first comment. LaShonda, she said, "Hey, beautiful, happy new year. Happy new year. Your hair is beautiful." I believe do you know her?
I don't think so,
No. Well,
but
thank you, LaShonda. Whoever you talking to,
yeah.
both of us. So I always like to give a background about how I know my guest. And Michelle is actually really near and dear to my heart for many reasons, actually. So we first connected through a mutual friend, Shira, will shout out Shira, who just had her baby yesterday,
Baby
her
Koa.
baby boy, Koa. So Shira is how I first remember ever meeting Michelle growing up. Then Michelle, you ended up dating. We ended up dating cousins.
Yeah.
One of us married a cousin, one of us had kids, and that's the end of that. Okay. And the third connection is she is actually one of my very best friends, which I got to shout out. And y'all know because I shout her out often, Monique's big sister. So Michelle and I and her twin are actually the same age, and Monique is younger than us. And I'm best friends with her little sister.
Yes.
So, and that is like the surface level of our relationship. But yeah, so Michelle and I are connected on many different levels. We're pretty much family, friends. And so as I'm like drumming up my list of divine guests I want to talk to and hear about their journeys, I'm like, yeah, I got to get Michelle on here for many different reasons, which we'll get into tonight. So,
Yeah, I call you my friend adjacent
yes.
because and I love Monique. I love all the people you named.
Yes,
I but I love Monique, so I'm glad to pass the torch over to you.
yes,
Um,
I got her. I've been trying to take good care of her. So, yes. So, but yes. So, Michelle, we're Divinely Crown is all about talking about the journey of where we come from, where we're at, and where we are going. So, I always like to start at the beginning. So, I know a little bit about your beginning, but why don't you share like where does Michelle come from? Who did she come from? Like, what was young Michelle like?
okay, so born and raised in Erie. Um, I was raised on the Lower East Side of Erie.
Mhm.
I would say we were like pew babies, went to church all throughout the week, all the time. The church was like the cornerstone of
Mhm.
our family. So when I think about my childhood, it's like church in Erie.
Yeah,
That's what I can think of. But
sounds about right for my life too.
yes, lots of siblings. So there was 9 of us in our household growing
Mm,
up, 7 girls. So that was fun. We always had a best friend, always had someone with us. So yeah,
yes.
that's pretty much it with the growing up and where I come from. But
Yeah.
a large family, a loving family. Everybody's families has their stuff, their ups and
Mhm.
downs, but I can definitely say like there's so much love in our family. So I really appreciate that.
Yes, I love that, and I remember just when I was like I said, we have mutual grew up with mutual friends, Shira, and I just remember her talking about you, and you're a twin, right? Which
Mhm.
we'll get into a little bit about being a twin, but you're a twin, so I remember just her like, yeah, the twins, Mari and Michelle, and seeing this big family. Even when I started connecting with you on social media, I'm like, wow, this beautiful church going family that I felt like I could relate to because I grew up in church. I love how you call it you're a pew baby. I wouldn't necessarily say I was a pew baby, but my parents were youth pastors growing up. So
Mhm.
that's was born and raised in church. So when I would see you guys, it was just like I could relate. I understood and I knew that life for sure.
Yes.
So you talk about having 9 siblings. How was that growing up? 9 siblings and you're a twin. So how was that growing up?
Like I said, it was fun, but also chaotic. I feel like
Mm,
our house was never quiet unless we were sleeping. But it was always something going on. We always had a friend, always had somebody to play with.
mhm.
Probably fought a lot. But
Woo.
still it I feel like my twin and I were actually talking recently, and she's also a therapist. So we
Oh,
were talking about how we talk about themes. We don't talk about specific clients, but we talk about
yeah.
themes that come up in our sessions. And we were talking about how a lot of our teenagers struggle with making friendships, forming
Mm,
friendships. And we were like, that is something we so take for granted because
mhm.
we had built in friends from the
Yeah,
beginning.
yeah.
So that's what I would describe it as, like built-in friends. It was
Built-in friend.
great. Our house was crazy, but
Yeah,
it was great.
I can imagine. And cuz I mean I grew up with 3 siblings and we like my sister and my older sister and like I always wanted to like run behind her and like be with her friends. And she was like, no, like I'm older. Like we're like 2.5 years apart. But it's like, and then like my younger sister, she's the baby. So she had her own group, and it was like, who wants to hang with her? And then my brother was the only boy. So like always trying to like we had fun together,
Mhm.
but it was like always every kind of doing their own separate things as well. So you being able to say like, you grew up and you always had a friend, and I am blessed like you to have siblings where you can say that, because there's people that I know that don't have that. And it's like you said, and even kids making, I feel like those are your first friends, your siblings, and that's how
Absolutely.
you learn relationships. So are you still as an adult pretty close with your siblings?
Yes, I love my sisters.
Yeah,
That's if you know me, I probably talk about my sisters every single day.
I love it. I
I
love
love my
it.
sisters. They're amazing. I'm
Yeah,
very close to them. So
yeah.
yeah,
I
I
wish
would
I had a
definitely say
picture
that.
to pull up. Like I knew this already because I know. Like, listen, I want to be in y'all group chat. I'm like, I've even told her sister
It's
Monique,
a
like,
mess.
listen, I want to be in y'all group chat because I know it'd be spicy. It'd be fun in there. But you recently did a beautiful picture with all your siblings. Now, how many girl siblings, sisters do you have?
There were 7 girls. Our older sister, Shalonda, she passed away, I think
Okay.
2015.
Okay.
But um, there's 7 girls in all.
7
Mhm.
girls. So I know how we us girls can be. And even though you're close, like, was there any challenges growing up with that many sisters? Like, what
I
were the challenges I know you faced probably?
I think the biggest one, honestly, and this might be kind of superficial, but like my clothes. Like it was like
Oh,
always it was
I get
always
it.
like, why do you have my shirt on, sis? Why? I didn't wear we had this rule, like if I didn't wear it yet, you cannot wear it.
Oh my,
So that was honestly
listen.
probably like thinking back now, I'm like that was so superficial and not that important. But
Yes.
I would say that was probably one of our probably what caused our biggest fights. But um other than that, we were always like singing, laughing. We That's our favorite thing to do, laughing and eating. And
Laughing and eating. And Monique definitely listen, we're not gonna talk about Monique all night, but that she done carried that on with me.
yes, yes, I'm glad.
We have a few comments. We have LaShonda. She said her hair is beautiful too. She said this generation needs this.
Thank
Yes.
you.
And we got the hubby in the comments. He said, "Hey, wifey. Hello, Junior." I call him Junior. Hey, Jerry. Hey, Mr. J. And congratulations, coach.
Yes, yes.
Oh, and then LaShonda said, stay close to your sisters. Keep loving them. My sister passed, and you'll never understand the pain until she's gone through. She's gone. So
Yeah.
even like just even talking about that, because you said you have lost a sister. So you want to share a little bit about like it was since LaShonda even kind of shared like, you'll never know. Like, what was that like for you losing a sister?
Yeah, it was. I experienced grief before, and I did, but I've never experienced grief on that level.
Mhm.
So, I that was my first experience of like how to manage grief. Um,
Mhm.
so it was tough. I think my first instinct was to dive into my work
Mm.
and not pay attention to it.
Yeah.
Um, and that was the wrong idea because it came crashing down on me.
Mhm, mhm.
Lots of tears, it was a very painful. And I like to say to people that I've just gotten it was I think it happened 2015. Let me make sure. Yes, 2015. And I've just gotten to a point where I can be like, I'm okay. I can hold the grief. Because when I used
Yeah.
to think about her, it's just like, oh, it was too heavy. But you
Mhm,
have to do the work. You can't go
mhm.
around it. You have to go through it.
Yeah.
But losing a sibling that's tough. That was probably one of the toughest things that
Yeah.
I've gone through. But I also will say, um, God was my rock in that.
Mhm,
And I
mhm.
also think that it brought me and my siblings closer together.
Mm,
So
mm.
there's in anything that you go through, you have to look for like the reason, the message,
Yeah.
because there's always a reason for what you go through.
Yeah, yeah, that's good. And that's good to even share because growing well, not growing up, I I worked for a grieving center for children and their
Mhm.
families. And before working there, I had a totally different view of grief when it comes to death than when I worked there. And just like how to process things, the spiral, and how you said like you dove into your work and things like that. And that was the wrong thing for you. And I definitely have learned that everybody has their own path to grief.
Yeah.
I even now I tell people who have experienced a loss. I know we have a lot of people experiencing that, and I always tell people feel what you need to as long as you need to. Don't let anybody tell you like, oh, you're not over this yet. Like, you are allowed to feel what you want, how you want, whether it's happy, sad, mad, glad, whatever. That's your process, and it will be as long as you need. You just said 2015, and you're just now starting to kind of be able to deal with like or maneuver through it.
Hmm.
And that speaks for itself to me. Like, it's this isn't like an overnight thing. This isn't in a few months, a few days. This could be for the rest of your life, and it's
Yeah.
how you do the work to process it. So I want to ask, like, is there anything along those lines? Because, like I said, right now, I believe that there's a lot of people losing loved ones very close. So
Mhm.
what would you share besides the do the work? Like, what is something you feel like you can share with somebody who might be experiencing grief from your perspective?
I think the number one thing you can do is feel your feelings. I think
Mm,
something I service, I'm mostly around Black women. I
mm-hmm.
service like 90% Black women.
Mm,
Um, and I think the report that I receive and what I've observed is that we want to be the strong ones.
mm-hmm.
We want to, and we also have learned to numb our feelings, like just
Mm,
do what you can do to get through it. Right. I
mm-hmm.
think we have the privilege of being able to do the work, do the processing, have feelings. I do acknowledge that that is a privilege, and not
Mm,
everybody was taught to do that.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but the number one thing that you can do that's important to do is to feel your feelings.
Feeling your feeling.
Because when you stuff them, they will erupt like a volcano.
Yeah.
So,
Yes. Yes.
so that's the best thing I would say you can do.
Yeah. Feel your feelings. Yes. Just like I said, like just feel what you need to and allow it to just, just go. If just let it go and flow, and it's okay. It
Mhm.
is okay. I don't care what anybody tells you. I'm telling you, Michelle's telling you, and she's a licensed therapist, which we'll get into, but she's telling you it is okay to feel your feelings. Let me get in the comments. We have LaShonda. She said, yes, praise God. We have Alex. She said, hey, ladies. LaShonda with the praying hands. She said, it's never the same. My girl, Asia, I was waiting for you, Asia. She said, hey, see. Yes, LaShonda said. And then we have Asia. She said, hey, ladies, miss you, Shell.
Miss you, Asia.
Yeah. And then we have LaShonda again. She said, we have to trust God. And LaShonda, the hurt never leaves. Yes. So as much as I want to go on to your career and what you do, for a living, I do want to go back real quick to your childhood, of
Mhm.
growing up as what did you call a pew baby?
Yeah, let's call it a PK. You could say
A
PK.
PK, yes, a PK. That's normal. I was like, that's kind of new, but tell me what that was like, because I know your dad is a pastor.
Mhm.
Um, and I know we are in a generation, and for anybody who watches, listens, whatever, y'all know your girl loves the Lord. Okay. So I talk about that. And when other people are on here that love the Lord, I like to talk about it. But either way, tell me what that was like being, because like I said, I was a youth pastor's daughter growing up. And I know what my journey looks like, and I know some of what my siblings' journey, but tell me kind of what that was like to be a PK kid growing up.
Um, so my dad, so we grew up in a church, and he didn't become a pastor until I might have been going into high school.
Oh,
So it was
wow.
like later in life. So that was a shift. That was a change. No, I might have been in middle school. I don't know. I was older, and I remember it happening, and it was a change. But like I said, God has been the cornerstone of our lives. I'm so happy that I feel blessed to have been presented to that world,
Mm,
right?
mm,
From childhood, it instilled so much in me that I definitely use today. But I
mhm.
will say, for my personal journey with Christ, I it's so easy for, if PKs are just growing up in the church, um, to get lost under somebody else's relationship with God. Um,
Yeah.
so the important thing that I think I did, especially when I went to college, was to form my own relationship.
Mhm,
And there was a lot of ups and downs, a lot of mistakes.
mhm.
But I had to get to know Christ for myself, and that has been
Mhm.
a beautiful journey.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think a lot, it was the beginning of it was like having a similar looking relationship that my parents had with Christ
Yeah.
instead of my own.
Yeah.
So getting to know Jesus on a personal level has been quite the journey, and important to who I am today.
Yes. Yes. I love how you said like getting lost under somebody else's umbrella of like what that relationship is, because I grew up the same. Like, I'll be honest, I didn't really understand what grace was, like God's grace was, until like the last
Mhm.
few years. Like around the pandemic, I got a mentor, a spiritual mentor. Shout out to Lori Pickens.
I love
And
Lori.
yes, me too. And I really not to take from what my parents taught me, but I feel like I never knew what that looked like and or
Mhm.
understood exactly what grace was. And so forming your own relationship is definitely so important because when you have your own personal relationship with the Lord, like it's so different and it's just so good.
And I
So
think that's just it, Davina. Like, there's different names for God in the
yeah,
Bible because he shows up for people in different ways, right? And
yes.
people
Ooh,
experience him in different ways. So you have to experience him for
for
yourself and
yourself.
see who he is to you and for you.
Yes.
And that's important. You
That
can't
is ooh,
rely
that
on
was
other
so
people's
good.
relationships.
That is so when you said that that's good and how he shows up for you versus someone else because I've even recently felt like when I see people who have the same faith as me and they might say call him a different name. I'm like, should I be calling him that? Like, is that but you even saying like he shows up for us in different ways, like, dang. I need to just be like, okay, chill out. Like he shows up for you as God the Lord, and he shows up for them as Yahweh,
Oh,
or
wait.
you
Mhm.
know. So it's like because some people, I was like, maybe I'm not deep enough, but I love that. I love that. I hope that even bless somebody else. Let me get in the comments. China. She said, hi, Vina. Hi, cousin. Hi,
Hi,
China.
cuz.
We have LaShonda. LaShonda been in it. We love you, LaShonda. She said, God
Yes.
will always be right there in the midst of it all. There, and then she said that is getting to know God for yourself and not religious teaching. Yes. She's God is God and faith. Yes. So let's fast forward now because we I want to get into you being a therapist. I definitely do. And then hi Tavia, one of my divine previous guests. Hi Tavia. Oh, she said,
I
hello,
loved her
ladies.
episode. It
I
was cool.
yes,
Yeah.
Tavia. We look, I got Tavia pulled out too. So you are in the mental health field and I know I'll probably be all over with this conversation, but I do want to touch on this because my sister just made a post today even about going to therapy, and I'm just so happy for her. And I've been in therapy for 5 years and I'm so proud of it, and I don't plan on going leaving anytime soon. But
That's
can you
beautiful.
share about your profession? I want to say your profession and as a Black woman. But before you answer this question, I want to say this real quick to you guys because I know I have had a lot of women of color on the Black women, and y'all know through and through I am proud to be a Black woman. But so when I talk to my Black queens, I am coming from a very personal place. Not saying that I'm not with everybody else, but I definitely when I'm talking to my Black female guest, I want to hear their perspective and their experience because I believe that we don't get to always hear those as deep as we should. So I hope that made sense, and I hope that doesn't offend anybody how I said that. But I do like to always, I do emphasize when I say like as a Black person or a Black woman.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
So I'll tell you a little bit about the practice I work for and how I got to um, becoming
Yeah.
a therapist.
Yeah.
But I'll do a shameless plug for my practice is hand in hand
Hey,
counseling services.
shout
It's in
out.
Pittsburgh. It's in
If there are
Pittsburgh.
they taking new clients? Because if they are, we want to make sure anybody in the Pittsburgh area, say it one more time.
Hand in hand counseling services.
Okay.
Um, I I will always like gloat about my bosses. They are amazing Black women. It's just an awesome place to work for. It's been the most healthy place that I've worked for. Um,
Wow.
but yeah, so I the way I describe my journey to becoming a therapist is like God bless the broken road that led me straight to you, because
Mm,
I feel like when I first got out of undergrad, I just wasn't that confident. I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. I stumbled from job to job trying to, is this
wow.
a good fit? Is this a good fit? Until like there was a point in my time, a season where God stripped me from everything, bare
Wow.
bones, everything. And I just, I went back to go get my master's, and then God revealed to me. I feel like God speaks to me and like he'll give me small glimpses of what I'm supposed to be doing. He don't let me see the whole picture because I'll probably turn away and say no. But
I get it.
he and I slowly kind of stumbled into becoming a therapist. I started out being a drug and alcohol counselor, and
Okay.
then I realized that no, you need to be just doing therapy,
Oh,
right?
wow.
So and I just was like, you can't do that. Like, no, this is not for you. I found this amazing practice to work for. We service everybody, but again, I think I said it earlier, like 90% of my caseload are Black women.
Mm.
So we are definitely like, we cater to make sure we take care of our Black women and
Mhm.
Black men too. But we get a lot of Black women ready to heal, and
Yes.
ready to start that process. So I love what I do. It is an absolute honor. I work a lot, but I don't feel drained. I think this is the first job that I haven't come home to my husband like complaining about, right? Because it's just
Wow.
like I love what I do. It's fulfilling to me, and I also see the benefits it has on other people.
Yeah.
So I'm glad God gave me the knowledge and the confidence to walk into it. And it doesn't have to be clear at first. I want to say that to people, especially younger people in college or high school or whatever.
Yeah.
You don't have to know exactly what you're going to do or what the whole picture looks like, but challenge yourself, um, reach your goals, push yourself a little bit, and then it will reveal itself to you. It will come to you.
Mm.
That broken road will lead somewhere. So
Who it will. And then it will break again and you just be trying to figure it out again.
exactly.
Jesus. Yes, and we have Tavia. She said, y'all about to go deep. I can feel it. I'm about to go get my tissue before y'all start dropping. And the sad thing is I can hear it in her voice, which makes it way worse.
Yes.
So you went to Slippery Rock, right?
Yes.
Okay. So did you always want to be in the mental health field, or is that like how did you get there?
Initially, I was an education major,
Okay.
and I really wanted to do social work. And I just kept saying, you're not going to make any money. Like, you're going to
Mm.
college, spending this money, you're not going to make any money. Right. So I was like, not, I didn't do it. 2 years in, I was sitting in my education classes and I was like, Michelle, this is not you. Like,
Wow.
this thing, I just didn't fit it. I was trying to make the puzzle piece fit, but it wouldn't. So I dropped the major and I switched to social work. I was like, just do what you know. Like,
Yeah.
my dad was in a social services.
Mm.
So I was like, do what you know. Like, and also too, I didn't know why, but it was something pushing me in that direction. I was like, I'll just be broke. That's okay. So
No, and I've heard that. I've heard like social shout
that
out
is
to
a
the
myth.
social workers because oh, it's a myth.
I feel like
Go ahead.
I'll say this. You need to go get your master's. So I got my
Okay.
master's from Pitt. If you want to make money in social work, you probably need to get your master's.
Okay.
Right?
There
I
you
do know
go.
some bachelor levels who do make money. It
Okay.
but that is a myth. I don't think that is completely true.
True.
Can
Okay.
you get like extremely rich off of it? No. But
Yeah.
there's lots of professions you can't get rich off of.
Mm. That you
But
get
yeah.
degrees for. So shout
Right.
out to those who do. So let's talk about a little bit about education. Because I do know that it's still important. And I know we live in a day and age where it's entrepreneur life and you don't need to go to school. And I do believe there's some things you don't need to go to school for, but let's talk a little bit about higher education and maybe your take on that for maybe somebody who watches this who is maybe in high school. I don't know what my viewers, like how young my viewers are, or a parent that is trying to help support their child into what they should do next, even after graduation. We're now in January, so we're gonna have a whole nother graduating high school senior class. So what's your take on higher education?
I think that I think our generation, Davina, was told that if you want to be successful, you need to go to college.
Mm-hmm.
And I also think that's a myth.
Mm-hmm.
I think you should do it, spend the money if it's a part of your vision for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
If you feel a push or a tug towards it, go for it.
Mm-hmm.
But if you don't, that's also okay.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a variety of options for you. I just don't think that's the only road. It's a beautiful road. And I'm glad that it's a road that especially Black women have stepped into. Because you see that's we're taking over. But
yeah, we are.
But and not in a condescending way. I mean, like in a just beautiful, powerful way.
Yes.
But
yes.
I don't want people to think that that's the only option or the only path that you have to take in order to have success. There's other ways, especially through entrepreneurship. If you know, so yeah.
Thank you for that. And even going to what you said real quick about the they're taking over, not in a condescending way, which I know for me personally, I understand what you mean. And I always think of, and I always get his quote wrong. I should probably really, if I'm going to keep quoting this quote or whatever, or quoting him, I should probably know the exact thing. But it's Malcolm X, when he says the most disrespected woman is the Black woman. So when I hear you say that, that's what I think of. Like, we have come so far as Black women, and we're this generation, I believe, is breaking a lot of barriers and curses for Black women. So to me, and I hope even me saying that, if somebody did think like, oh, in a context, like, you understand, like, we have fought so hard to get to where we're at, and we're still fighting a lot.
Yes.
So it's just like it definitely is. It's a beautiful thing to see. So even you talking about that, I want to now go back to this whole, you being a therapist and servicing mostly like a majority of Black women. So I like I said, I'm very big on pushing therapy or something, counseling, something to help you. So how does that feel to be able to service your sisters, your fellow sisters, and see those women getting the help they need? And this is 2 questions, so if you need me to ask it again. And what would you tell somebody, because we're in a new year, this new year's used to be like this fun and exciting thing, but now it seems like it's just stress on top of stress. So what would you tell somebody who maybe is on the fence about going? And is that was probably a lot. That I was talking, more was coming.
It's okay. I think I got an answer for you. Okay. So I just want to say, we out here healing. Like, yes, we're doing the work. I love to see that for Black women. Like you said, Black women, we hold so much. We hold it together. Mm-hmm. All this issues going on in the Black community, Black women carry that on their backs. Ooh. Right? In so many different ways. We don't need to go into it. We don't need to talk about the trauma. Yeah, right? But it's there. We know it's there. Mm-hmm. And we've seen it generationally, how we stuff our feelings. What I see a lot is like this numbness, right? So we are feeling and we're healing. I know that might sound cliche, but it's real, and it's beautiful to see. So I get up every day to do that work. Yes. I just can't explain like how beautiful it is, and how beautiful it is for all different ages, for all of them to let me in to that space, those broken spaces, right? And we plant seeds of forgiveness. We plant, because it
Mhm.
may not be there yet, right? We plant seeds of healing, we plant seeds of love, and we water them and we watch them grow every week.
Yeah,
And then
I love it.
I sit back and I'm like, look at the garden we built.
Yes.
You know? So it's awesome to see. But this is what I'll say about someone who may be on the fence about going to therapy. This might not be a popular opinion. I do not push people or force people to go to therapy. I
Okay.
also do not tell people that you need to go to therapy.
Okay.
If they ask me, I do,
Yeah.
but I think that therapy is a space that you need to be in. You need to be in a place where you're ready to do the work.
Mhm.
You don't need to know the answers. You don't need to know how. You don't need, right? I'm not saying you come with nothing,
Yeah.
right? Um, but you have to be, for in order for it to work for you, you have to be willing. And you also have to be willing to do the work in and out of the session.
Yes. Yes. That's
That comes with time. But initially, like if you are teetering, like going back and forth, like should I do it? I think like assess your life, what the benefits of it would be. Also, I want to say therapy is like blind dating. So,
mm,
so you
I get
might
what
go,
you're saying.
you might go and you'll sit with somebody and it's not a good fit.
Yeah.
Don't give up there. Go on the next blind date because you don't know who you're going to get on the other side
Mhm.
until you find somebody who you like. This fits. Like again, back to the puzzle piece. This fits for me. So
Yeah.
I'll stick with this person, and because it's a very intimate journey to go
Mhm.
on with someone. So that doesn't mean the person's a bad therapist, that you didn't want to do the work with them, but and they shouldn't take offense to it. You
Yeah.
got to find somebody that you're willing to do that work with.
Yeah, yeah, that's some good advice because I always tell people because like you said, you got to be ready, and I learned that from working in a grieving place. It's like we would get we get all these people, or we would get all these people that the death just happened today, and people are like, you need to call, you need to call, you need to call.
Yeah.
And first of all, people don't be know what they're like even calling for. They just know I just lost somebody and they're telling me to call you. And it's like, okay, well, let's tell you what we're about. um First of all, you might be too fresh, but also, are you ready to do the work? Because just because this is a place that is beautiful and we're going to help you, we're going to support you on your journey of grief, are you ready for that? Because you might not be ready to face things. And so, even you saying with therapy, are you ready to do the work? Because people like, well, I'm just gonna go and sit there and talk. Well, yeah, if you're not ready to really open up, that is what you're gonna do. You're just gonna sit there and don't know this person from Adam, and you're gonna, yeah, you are. So you definitely got to be ready to do the work.
I want to add one more thing,
Go
Davina.
ahead.
So another thing I hear people say is when they talk about, should I go? It's like paying for a friend, or I could just talk to my friends. Your therapist is not your friend.
Facts.
Or I'm gonna say it again. Your therapist is not your
That's
friend. We might be friendly with one another, especially if you click with somebody,
Yeah.
right? But it's a therapeutic relationship,
Yeah.
and there's work to be done there, and there is love and all kind of things you pour into it, but that person is not a family member. You can't do that kind of work with a friend or a family member.
Yeah, yeah, that's good. That is good because people like I have my spouse, I have my friend, I have my family. Like, also, even coming from a clinical standpoint, therapists are trained to maybe dig a little deeper and give you tools and things like that. A lot of times your friends and family and those people are coming from more of a place of emotion when
Mhm.
giving you advice or hearing and supporting you. Not saying that's always a bad thing, but they are going to be more on, either sometimes if you're dealing with trauma that are from people, it's like you try to confront people and they're not receptive, and like there's so many different things for you to like to not go well with talking to your friends and family, and not also get to the deep roots of why you may be certain ways you are, and all things. So I love that you said your therapist is not your friend, and yeah,
And we encourage you to have friends, right? We
right.
encourage you to lean on your supports, but to do that, like you said, that deeper work,
Hmm.
it's good to have that therapeutic relationship with somebody.
Yes, let me get in these comments real quick. I'm sorry, y'all. Sometimes I'll be getting this is a good one for me. We have LaShonda. She said, yes, therapists help people get shamed for helping people. You can get paid for your calling spiritually and naturally. That
That's
is
good.
true.
Mhm.
We have Tasia. She said, because everyone's therapy to healing may look different. That is so true. And we have Tashana. She said, yo, facts. Well, actually, Tasia, I gotta always shout out my previous divine guest. So Tasia, shout out to you, Queen, and Tashana, who I just taught on recently. She said, yo, facts. It's so important to find a match when looking for a therapist. And we got your hubby. He put the 100 signs. I love it. I love it. So speaking of hubby and family, I want to go back because you had said at one point during your conversation, you had said that you work a lot. I work a lot, but you also have a little baby girl and you have a
Mhm.
husband. So let's first talk about this little baby girl. She's 1 and a
Yes.
half. One and
Yes.
a half. 1 and a half.
Uh-huh.
So what tell me about your baby girl.
She is the light of my life. I
Hmm.
love her so much. I When I look at her, I'm like, I can't believe. After, when my sisters, especially Monique, when she sees, she's like, I can't believe you got a daughter. I'm like, I know, it's so crazy. But she's just so special and truly, honestly, like a gift from God.
Yes,
Uh,
I love it. And shout out to can I say her name?
yeah,
Yeah, okay. Because listen, I don't know. Some people are like, no, don't say.
we gonna say her
Shout out
name.
to Miss Zoe. So Miss Zoe. And so the reason why when I said you taught first, I because I definitely want to go back to Zoe because you have a special part of your journey with Zoe. So you talk about, I work a lot. So how is that to being an entrepreneur mom? So maybe I'm asking for my own, maybe some advice because I was just talking to my mom about this, but being a businesswoman, because you have a business, which we'll talk about too, being a therapist, how do you deal with that? Because I'm a life coach and I know I'm an empath too. So I am learning how to not take on all that and then bring it
Mhm.
home and be a mom and all this. So how do you deal with that as a wife, as a mom, and a therapist? Like, how do you deal with all that?
So, two things. And Davina, I think that you'll get this skill if you don't already have it.
Okay.
But the first thing I want to say is like you learn how to not carry it, right?
Mm,
You get in it, you're in the mud with people, and then when you leave the session, you leave it, right? You
mm,
walk away,
yeah.
you drop it, you leave it where it's at.
Yeah.
It's so important to do that because I think at first, especially when you're hearing people's stories, you get vicarious trauma, right?
Yeah.
That it sticks to you. I remember being in that place where I was like, I feel that pain, like I
Yeah.
feel that, right?
Yeah.
But I think it's like I said, it's a skill that you learn over time where you're like, okay, I held this space with this person. Now I'm gonna give it back
Yeah. Yeah.
and leave it there. So you gotta do that. The other thing I will say is I call it like my first fruits of the day. I dedicate the first 2 hours. You can ask Jerry. I was like, don't touch the first 2 hours of my day. Like,
Yeah.
no, no, no one touches it. Not
Yeah.
Zoe. Well, sometimes Zoe, if I gotta
Yeah.
get her a bottle, but that's about it. Like, not Zoe, not anybody. It's the from 6 to 8 is like my time with God and
Yeah.
my time for me. I think like I have to pour into me first,
Mhm.
and then once my I do that every day, I can pour into other people with a from a full cup,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because if I don't do that stuff, I feel it,
Yeah.
right? So I think having work life balance, making sure I'm mindful and present in whatever space I'm in. So when I'm in therapy, I'm present, I'm there. When I'm with my baby girl, I'm there. When I'm with my husband,
Mhm.
I'm there. But
Yeah.
also pouring into myself and my relationship with God
Yeah,
first.
yeah, that's good. And I'll be first. I got your husband. He said he said she ain't lying. All right, he put the stamp on that comment. And Tashana said that is beautiful. Lashonda said she's a gift. So, I'll be honest. I'm still working and learning that, and I think that's part of my trauma too. So being an empath and carrying everybody's stuff, we are definitely working on that in therapy with me because my therapist is always like, Davina, you gotta give it back. You gotta give it back. And I'm like, oh, I know I'm trying. I don't want this. But you talking even about those first few hours of the day, definitely working on getting back to that because that is important. Like today I did that, like woke up, put on my therapy light, and just was laying in bed and just like talking to God because I've been having some heavy anxiety and crying, whatever, but just really letting it go and just like really being intentional about my time before I go get my kids up from for school, and trying to be more aware of that, and you like you said, being present with who I love when when I'm with them. So, and I'll be honest, as a single mom, entrepreneur, trying to heal and all this stuff, I'm not always present for my children. I haven't always been. And so I'm definitely learning to be, and not present saying I'm not the best, like, but like really focused like on what is going on. So even you sharing like being present, like that's a reminder for me to like, no, be present, put the phone down, don't think about, try not to think about work or anything, and just really be there. So I
And
love
Davina,
that.
it's trial and error. I
Woo!
know to like I have gained that skill, and it's not perfect at all.
Woo!
But
I
I've
believe.
gained that
Yeah.
skill because I was doing it the wrong way before, right? It's like I gotta do something different.
Yeah.
Um, so it's definitely trial and error, and you'll get it. I
Yeah.
think um as you continue to do what you're doing, you'll gain the capacity to hold it.
Mm. I love
Right.
that word for some reason. It's such
Yeah.
a good the word capacity, like I love that word. I
I
just
do
love
too.
it.
I use it every day. I do.
I
I love
love
it.
it. Like, and even like now with because I always used to be like, I will be there for you. I'm always there for you. Now I'm like, I'm there for you if I have the capacity, because like me trying to be there for everybody and do everything, and then I'm like depleted, which I'm still working on, but like having the capacity to do stuff is important. So you say it's your favorite word. Why is it your favorite word? Or
I
like
will
a
say
word you love?
it's my second favorite word. My favorite word is boundaries, but I think they go together.
Yeah.
Um, I think because when people run away from their feelings, it's because they feel like they can't hold it. So I'm
Mm.
like, no, when you feel it, it grows your capacity and your tolerance for it.
Ooh.
Right. So that's why
Wow.
it's my favorite words, because teaching that to people is like, okay, I don't have to be afraid of this feeling. Right.
Yeah.
So that's why that, but also my favorite word is boundaries. I know my clients are like, Michelle, if you say boundaries one more time, but it's, and I teach them, I'm like, your boundaries can't be rigid. They can't be porous. Everything can't get through them. We need to
Mm.
have healthy boundaries. And I think that's another um, thing that Black women, we have to learn, because we give.
We do.
I
I
think
do.
women do it. Men probably do it too. I just know women, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But we give. It's so easy for us, even when we're not trying to do it, to get lost in being a mother, a girlfriend, a wife,
Mm-hmm.
or whatever hat. But it's so important to not lose yourself and have
Yeah.
healthy boundaries. That's why at 68, that's my boundary.
Yeah, listen, I'm still I I I was in a very unhealthy relationship for a long time and had no I don't even know what the word boundaries was. I honestly just learned what the word boundaries was in the last as I'm healing.
Mhm.
So it's not easy.
Mm-mm.
It's not easy. Tell
Not
me
when we've been taught to do something else for so long.
facts.
So we feel bad
Yeah.
for doing it, or we feel selfish. I'm like, let's rebrand or reclaim the word selfish, because I think
Yes.
it's okay
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
pour into you and to take care of you and to assess what serves you and what doesn't serve you.
Mm. Come on and speak. Come on. So, first of all, let me get in the comments. We have Tasia. She said, "Ooh, I love it." We have Shonda. She said, "God first." We have Kyle. That's a sibling. He said, "What up, sis?" We have Asia. She said, "Capacity reminds me of Mr. Jones from SRU."
Yes, yes, yes.
We have Shonda. She said, "You will gain the capacity. I'm 44 and I realize I can't help everyone." Wow, yes. Ooh. And Shantae, real quick, because you know, my people get on here, I hope you're healing well. I love you. I was just thinking about you today as well. So I pray you are enjoying, some relaxation as you're healing. She said, "Me first, that's my motto." I love that. And it's so funny because like my whole brand is about self-love and self-care, and as much as I push that, sometimes I have to remind myself, like, Davina, you got to talk to yourself too. So when I say like self-love, it's so like self-love or self-care isn't selfish or whatever. Like, it's okay to be selfish. Like, it is okay to be selfish and create boundaries. So for someone who doesn't maybe understand or know what that means, like, can you maybe elaborate a little bit about boundaries?
Okay. I think
I
I'll
know
go
that's
back.
like a very like why like, but like if I was in the elevator with you right now going
Okay.
up.
But what I was going to say too is, you know how preachers say, "Oh, that was for me."
Yeah,
Like they preach the message, but it was for like
yeah,
I'll leave my sessions like, Michelle, if you can, that session was for you. That person don't know it, but
yeah.
it was for you. Um,
Listen,
so yes, I definitely eat on, and that's why I love this work too, because it's a accountability partner, right? It's
yeah,
like it's a constant reminder every day that I need to be doing the work,
yeah.
doing self-care and how
Oof,
important it is. So that's one of the benefits I would say of the
I
job.
love that. I need to remember that. Like, listen. Yeah.
Hmm.
I told a friend recently because listen, I was like, I feel like a fraud. I feel like a fraud. Like, I'm out here, but at the same time, I'm still working on me. But I've learned to the point where I feel like what I've learned, I need to be sharing with people that have been like me for years. So no, I'm not a fraud. I'm still learning as I'm now coaching and other people to where I once was. And as I'm learning, as I'm teaching them, supporting them, I'm getting stronger in what I've learned and they're now being helped. So, wow,
I
this is,
think
yeah.
that's one of the things that was intimidating for me
Mhm.
thinking about being a therapist. I'm like, well, I'm not arrived. I
Mhm.
have my own healing that I need to do. You don't
Yes.
need to have arrived,
Yes.
right? I think that I think it's important for therapists to do their own work,
Yeah.
right? But you don't have to have. I told I told my therapist, I mean my clients all the time. I'm like, you think my life is perfect? Because they'll say that, like, well, you know this, you know that. I'm like, that doesn't mean my life is perfect. Like,
Right.
there's times where
Right.
I have to like go to my husband, like, I'm very sorry, I didn't use my communication skills like I was supposed to.
I was just in this session with my client telling them, and I'm over here like, yeah, I get it.
No,
I
so
get
that's the
it.
thing. But with boundaries, I'll just go back to like, I think people, when they first are introduced to boundaries, they want to go crazy with the words. So they're like
Yeah.
building boundaries this high, and I'm like, no, they don't need. Can you see? Like, that's your bound. Like, you cannot, right? So it needs to be a good balance,
Yeah.
something in the middle that feels good, that's
Yeah.
healthy. Thinking about the intention behind the boundary, right? And a boundary is something there to protect you,
Mhm.
right? So when you're building that, remember that it
Mm.
shouldn't be harming you. And
Yeah.
also, a boundary that you had when you were 16 might not serve you at 30.
Dang, that's
So
good.
they change.
Come on with these gems, Michelle. I knew it. I knew it. Listen. I'm like, I gotta respect your boundaries of time because I know you a mama, but like, I feel like I could go for a good 2 hours with you. I'm just so those, and that is so good. And you saying like, don't but because I feel like if you you're talking about like just building them up so high, like because then you don't know, you can't control like all that, and then you stop having boundaries because you're
Right.
like, this is too much to have all these boundaries. Like, forget that. I'm gonna just let people do whatever. Like, you know what I mean? So I love that you're like pace yourself and kind of learn like, okay, so this works for me, so I'm gonna stick to this and now add the next layer. And it's like, yeah, that's good stuff right there. What are you, a therapist or something?
You're hilarious.
So talking about again, your baby. Hold on. We got comments. Hold on. Oh, Shantae, she said, thank you so much. Love you, ladies. We love you. LaShonda, it's important not to lose yourself. You're preaching, young lady. Pour into your sisters. Yes, she is. Shantae said, you can have a message in what you're doing that blesses someone else, all the while not having it all together yourself. It's a process for you as a leader.
Yes.
Sometimes you get fed after you feed. I love
Yes.
that. And Shantae, I will say, Shantae has been on this journey with me even from afar. She's always just encouraging me. She's like, you gonna do big things. Like, I know. And it's like, even with schooling, she's like, girl, you ain't gotta go to school, just do your thing. So I love Shantae, my big cousin. Shout out to
She's so
you.
beautiful and
She
kind.
is
Yeah.
so beautiful and kind. And then we have your hubby. He said, come on now, Mrs. Cooley. So back to your husband and family. So like I said earlier, you have a journey through as a mother. And I told you, I was like, I definitely want to highlight this because I feel like in the Black community, we don't hear about this. So you correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know all the terminology. I don't know all those things, but you did in vitro with
Yeah.
your daughter, right?
We
So
can just call it IVF for short.
IVF, yes. So can you share maybe like how that experience was for you? And like I said, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but anybody who I've ever known who has had IVF not is like not a woman of color. Like, I think you might be my only
Wow.
person I know. So can you share your experience and share maybe people who don't even know what that is?
I love sharing this testimony
Mhm.
because that's what it
Yes.
is, a
Yes.
testimony. So like when we were growing up, everybody was like, "Don't have a baby, don't have a baby, don't have a baby,"
Yeah.
right? So we're just doing all these things not to have a baby.
Yeah.
But it's not talked about when you can't, right?
Yeah.
People tell you not to, but just not. There's no conversation. So I love that you've provided a platform for this to be
For
discussed.
sure.
But so when my husband and I when we got married and we start trying, um, we knew we wanted kids together,
Mhm.
and so we started trying early, and um, I was like, I feel like we need to go to a fertility doctor. That was, I'm going to admit, that was dramatic because it
Mm.
was probably our first year of marriage. And he was like, okay, let's
Yeah.
go. So we went and we did all these tests and everything. And she was like, yeah, so you guys probably need to do IVF. And I was like, to me, I was like, that is not a death sentence. That's dramatic too.
Mhm.
But it just, it
For
felt
you, it
like,
might have felt like
it
that. Like,
felt like that
yeah.
because I was like, how in the world am I going to pay for this? And like you said, I've never met anybody in my life, a Black person who has done this,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Um, and then someone close in our family actually soon after did go through the process. So I think
Mhm.
that encouraged me a little bit. And I was like, okay, so maybe this is a possibility for us.
Yeah.
We just tried again for a year,
Yeah.
right? We didn't do anything. And we talked and I was like, I think we need to revisit IVF.
Yeah.
Right. So we went through the process and it was the toughest thing I've ever had to do in my
Mm.
life. It
Mhm.
was so many needles, so many
Mm.
tests. I got my blood drawn like multiple times a week for
Yeah.
months, right? Because you have to have the right levels of hormones and the right this and the right that,
Mhm.
perfect this, perfect that. So it was a lot of going to um, the doctor. and just like I said, being poked and prodded to
Yeah.
have a child.
Yeah.
And then I was able to produce so many eggs, right?
Mm.
Normally people may, I'm just saying, like on average, I'm guessing maybe like 20 or 15. I had like 60 something eggs because my eggs wasn't the
Yeah.
problem, right?
Yeah.
So that caused me to have some discomfort in my body. So that was tough.
Yeah.
We ended up with 11 embryos that
Wow.
fertilized and who made it. So we have 10 more in the freezer right now.
Oh, she got 10 kids waiting to be born. No,
Right.
she'll be like her mama.
We got 10 more, right? We have 10 more. And then we had our baby girl Zoe. When she came out, I just could not believe how beautiful. And I was like, all of that I was able to get, I'll do it 10 times
Yeah.
again, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I just can't believe because we look at her, we could see her when she was an embryo, just a couple of like cells,
That's
and
crazy.
she formed into this like beautiful, bright,
Baby.
feisty little girl.
I believe it.
So it was definitely a beautiful but challenging, like I said, it was the most challenging thing I've ever done, but it was totally worth it.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. Thank you for sharing that. So I guess I want to, if you could, like, explain exactly what IVF is. I
So
mean, like, yeah, like in a way, obviously, I know you're not like a doctor, but like for
I know.
someone who might not even know, like what you're saying is like, I get it because I know, but like somebody who's like, what is she talking about? Like, what is it?
So basically, with IVF, they grow your eggs so that they can extract them and combine them with your your partner's sperm, and
Hmm.
they basically make a embryo outside of your body in a lab.
Okay. Okay. Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah,
That's
it is.
interesting.
It's very interesting.
So what would you tell somebody or what would you share um with somebody who might cuz I also feel like you said, like, you know how they people we grow up and it's like, don't do this because you're gonna have a baby, and to find out that, you know, you might have some challenges with that. Like, what are some encouraging words you might give a woman who is in the was in the same like position or is in the same position that you once were?
I would say hang tough.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Not being able to conceive and infertility brings a certain amount of grief
Mm-hmm. I
um,
can imagine.
that is just unexplained. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's every month when you're taking a test to see if you're pregnant, like as your period may be a few days late and you're like, maybe this is my month, and you take that test and it's negative, it's just very disheartening and depressing.
Mm-hmm.
So just hang tough, continue to pray, um, and motherhood, if you really want it, it can be accessible to you. It just may not be in the form or come in the way that you thought it
Mm-hmm.
would. I
Mm-hmm.
never thought I would have to go through IVF to be a mother, but that was a blessing. And sometimes IVF doesn't even work for people, right?
Mm-hmm. I've
You
seen that.
spend all these thousands and thousands of dollars and it doesn't even work. So there's other ways. Being a mother is not just um, birthing a child or
Mm-hmm.
carrying a child. There's other ways to be a mother. I will say that too. So,
Yeah. That's so good. I love that. Michelle, hold on. Comments. We have Kyle. Shout out to Zozo. Shout out Zozo. She is just such a light. Like every picture I see, little video, she's just so like there's such a light about her and this her little face. I just love her. I love her. And you can tell her personality is everything. So God knew what he was doing with her
yes,
for sure.
absolutely.
We have Shantae. She said, beautiful story. We have Brittany. She said fertility issues definitely aren't talked about enough in our community. I think it is because we are so accustomed to seeing huge Black families and just assume it's easy to have children. Thanks for sharing. That is so true. And that's like I said, what I said when and I've never you're my first person and that first Black person that I've heard go through this and do this. I remember an old coworker. She was a white woman, and I worked at the front desk. And man, just thinking about it now was a beautiful, and hearing your story was a beautiful thing. But she would get her packages sent to the office, and I'm like, your package is here, and like watching her get these packages to the point where she announces she's pregnant. And I'll never forget, I told her, I'm like, you're gonna have a girl. Actually, I knew she was pregnant before she was pregnant, told her. And then I was like, you're gonna have a girl. And her husband was like, ask me if she wants me to like fight her. Sure enough, she had a girl. So, and her shout out to Santana if she ever watched
she
that.
was getting it at work because it's so time sensitive. Like you
yeah,
have to
I
do
believe
things.
it.
Yeah.
It's so crazy.
Your
It's
life
so like,
shuts down,
yeah,
and it's about
it's so
IVF.
crazy. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just saying your life shuts down and it's all about IVF.
Yeah.
When you're doing it. But go ahead. What were you saying?
No, I was just like just listening to you and talking and then remembering, like even remembering now. Like I wasn't even remembering all that until you just said that. It's like, yeah, I only watched some of her process, and for you to have gone through it and you're like, listen, it's time sensitive. It might not work. And like, man, it's a beautiful thing that you were blessed to be able to do that. And I saw actually the other day, it was a post um you commented on or something about somebody was like thinking about doing a second time around. Right? So, and you were like, oh, like I'm there. So like, is it hard to like decide or like, yeah, if you want to
it is. It's so because I have 10 left, it won't be that whole full process again, but it's still a process. Lots of needles involved.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
it's scary. It's like getting on that roller coaster again. It's scary to think about, but like I said, if I can get another Zoe or a male version of like that would be amazing. And that's totally what I want.
Yes.
So yeah, Monique hates when I keep talking about Monique. I love Monique.
Well, I know, because I told you it's gonna feel like it's just me and you on here, and so that's what it feels like.
But I'm gonna be totally transparent. Like we're still paying for Zoe.
Yeah.
So
I know. That's just like, wow, yeah.
So when I'm done paying for Zoe, I'll try again.
Oh my gosh! Listen, well, we pray you can finish paying for her and get your second one, a little basketball player for Jerry. So speaking of Jerry, listen, I just love how the Lord be letting these questions flow in just the right way, because sometimes I told you I just let these things flow and I just let it go. So first of all, we have my sister, she gave the hearts. We have Asia, she said yes, she's gorgeous. And we have your hubby, he said Zoe cutting up right now.
She's probably like, where's my mom?
Like, listen, your mom. Listen, I had Brooklyn on here. She had her baby, so Zoe could have been in the picture, but
Zoe would have been tearing it up.
She would have took over the show. So, talking about your husband, marriage, I had the pleasure of being at your Tyler Perry wedding, because literally all you were missing from your wedding was them angels floating on the I literally feel like I'm on a Tyler Perry.
Me and my sister used to watch I think it's Family Reunion that one's on. We used to watch that almost every night. So I was like, I have to incorporate it.
Yes, her wedding. And how many years has it been now?
Dang, Davina, 4.
Listen, it be like that when you in love. It's okay. Like, but no, I will always cherish your wedding one because I feel like you're one of the only weddings, but it was a beautiful, like you were the first wedding I've been to in a long time, and it was so beautiful. Like I said, your husband and my children's father are first cousins. So
Hmm. I didn't
and
realize how much they looked alike
I
until they
know
were
it's
together. I was
ridiculous.
like, y'all look like twins.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's really ridiculous. So, they got strong. That's when I had my
They
kids.
have
I'm like,
strong genes.
I already knew what they were gonna look like, even though my son looks like me, but they've always said my kid's dad and I look like brothers.
Yeah, y'all do look alike a little bit.
But and then Jaleisha, which is their cousin,
Hmm.
I'm acting like we're on the phone right now, but we call each other twins because we look ridiculously
And she
alike.
looks
So,
just like his mom.
yeah, but I am not related to my children's father, just so y'all know. While we're doing all this talking. But either way, the reason why I was asking about marriage is because you are a young millennial Black couple. And I always, as a single woman, okay, yes, I am not with my children's father. I always like to kind of get, and I feel like you've been vocal about, marriage is work and things like that. So I always like to kind of get some insight from young millennials about marriage and things like that. So
I'm gonna
do
show
you have
you.
any words? Go ahead.
I'm gonna show you this book that I've been reading.
Oh,
Marriage Be Hard. I love this book. I go back. I'm not even done. I started this a while ago. Because I go back and reread the parts because it's
Mm,
so helpful. So I think that the what I can say for millennial couples is just to be intentional about your
mm,
relationship
yeah,
and how you pour into it.
yeah,
Something that's very helpful for me and Jerry. Me and Jerry, I don't know if you know the history of our relationship, but it was
no.
very awkward. It's weird. We were friends. Everybody was like, what are y'all for like 2 years, right?
I definitely remember those times. And so their history is her Shira, which was one of your best friends, and it's crazy. It's her cousin. So yeah, we all grew up together and then grew up together some more.
Everybody's like connected from Erie. We're
Yes,
related or connected in
listen.
some way. But yeah, so we had a long journey. I think what was also helpful for us was forming a friendship. That
Mm,
those 2 years of awkwardness and weirdness was, I would say, the foundation of our relationship. It set the foundation.
yeah.
So even when we stepped away, took breaks, and invested in ourselves, because that's a part of the process sometimes.
Mm,
Um, we still had that friendship, and
yeah.
I feel like that helped us. And Jerry and I, we don't always see eye to eye, but we do have this like mutual respect for each other, which I
That's good.
also think is like very helpful.
Yeah.
When I'm pissed off or he's pissed off, like we still respect each other,
Yeah.
which is helpful.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So the number one thing I will say though is like check-ins.
Mm,
You gotta y'all have to communicate, because the person that he met in like 2015 or 14, whenever we met, is not the same person I am in 2023. Totally
right.
different, completely different person,
Yeah.
right? So if he didn't check in along the way, he wouldn't know who he was married to.
Yeah.
And I know when we think about a lifespan, we've only been married like a drop in the bucket, right?
Yeah.
But we, even in that small amount of time, we both have grown and changed so much. um so now we're like not navigating life not as like a single, just a couple with no
Yeah.
children. Now we have a child, and
Yeah.
incorporating her into our lives and in our family has been fun and interesting. But yeah.
Listen, and I love like all the things you said because I have the pleasure of watching all three of my siblings are married and they all I feel like I've learned like shout out to my parents. They've been married for 30 plus years. But I
Beautiful
definitely
couple.
know that generation and our generation is different. In many ways when it comes to relationships and marriages and I I think also because I'm older, watching my siblings be married, but watching how you said they do the check-ins and are very intentional about um their feelings and opening up to their feelings and dating each other even now as a couple. Not saying my parents didn't do that stuff, but it's just it's different to see. And it's like, I know marriage is hard work, but Lord, being single ain't it either. So okay, in the streets is whack, okay? But I'm like, I always tell people like, I know it's work, but I'd rather deal with that. But it's like it's beautiful on both ends, being single and being married. But you saying like, I'm not who he met how many years ago, and those check-ins are important along the way. That respect, because I feel like we're in a generation where I don't know where it came from, but this toxic relationship stuff and how it's like, we love this toxic, like that's not healthy. It's not
Mhm.
okay. I don't know who adopted it as being okay or cute, but it's not. So you saying as millennials, because or a young couple, because I know I always say millennials like we're gonna be these young people forever,
we,
but
we think we are, but
yeah, we do. Because I just had to tell myself the other day, like, Davina, you're gonna be old and still be a millennial, but like as a young adult, we're still young. We're in
yeah.
our prime. Either way. Why I said this because like you being able to say like we respect each other is the most important thing, because I feel like a lot of relationships there's no respect there, and we love each other but we don't respect each other. We're toxic to each other, like, and that is stuff you have to work through
Mhm.
too.
Mhm.
Not saying you don't, just like you said, I told my husband like I didn't use my, my communication skills, like, but there's a healthy balance of respect in one another, which I think is important, not just as a young couple, but as a black couple, because I know that's another thing, like relationships within our black community. Like I've seen multiple times like this how black women aren't getting married and
Yeah.
white women are and stuff. But you people like you and like my siblings and even Monique and her husband show like are I love having people like you guys as an example of like it
Mhm.
can be done, and it can be done in the right way still. So
Right. I want to add two things to that.
yeah.
Um, so you mentioned your parents. My parents too have been married for like 32 years, which I think is beautiful. Can you imagine being with somebody that long? Like,
Listen, I'm 32. Like,
right,
yeah.
right. So, it's it was we, you and I are privileged to say that we were able to see a
Mhm,
healthy black
mhm,
relationship.
mhm.
It's kind
Yeah.
of like the Huxtables, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Right. Which seemed like a fairy tale to some people,
Yeah.
but we got to experience, not that saying that they were perfect, but it was beautiful to be able to experience that.
In a
I
black
also think
household.
being able to see that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
My parents do respect each other,
Mhm,
right?
mhm.
Um, and now being able to do the same for my husband,
Yeah.
um, is great. It's just a blessing. But also, I think that you take what you got and you do better.
Yeah.
And
That's
I
the
expect my
truth.
daughter to take what she got from us and to
And
do
do
better.
better. Yeah.
Um, so the other thing I was going to say is I don't idolize marriage.
Yeah.
Like,
Okay.
I don't think that's like the one stop shop, end all be all. I think, again, like when we talked about mindfulness, it's good to be like, I'm here in this space,
Yeah.
whatever that space, it may be your single, your season of singleness, dating, marriage, whatever. Be in that
Being
space, be
that.
engulfed
Mhm.
in that space, right?
Yeah.
um and have gratitude
Yeah.
for whatever season you're in, because that's awesome. I think
Yeah.
every season, every stage has its pros and cons.
Yes. Thanks, Michelle.
And that's honestly how I feel. If you were
No,
married and
I
not
get
married, I
it.
would have said that.
Listen, I totally get it, and I hear it often, and I'm like, I know how to be single, but you're right, being enjoying that, even not saying like, oh, you gotta go. I'm single, but like just being satisfied in that place that you're in, whether it is single, dating, or married. So I love that. I love it. I'm gonna
I
take
think
it.
there's a duality to it. I think that you can
Hmm.
be content but also striving towards something,
Driving. Yes,
right?
that's
You can
good.
have both of those things at the same
Yes.
time.
That's good. That's good. I'm gonna take it. I'm gonna take that. Oh, okay. Wait, I got that one. There's my twin. She said, "Hey, beautiful ladies, Jaleesa." She said, you look like." Thanks. I call her G, so I'm gonna say G. Thanks, G. We have Junior. She said she couldn't leave me alone. Oh, yeah. I believe it was the other way around.
Yes. I was gonna say we all know the truth, but
We
okay.
know the truth. Listen, we've been on here for an hour and 19 minutes, and I'm loving this.
Yeah.
But I have some questions. Well, first, going back to your therapy, I definitely want to highlight your business. So, can you share a little bit? Because I think it's so unique, your business. So, would you like to share a little bit about your business that you just rebranded, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So my daddy was like, "Yeah, your logo don't pop enough. We need to do something about that."
Listen, you know what it is.
So um meaningful cleaning is something that I started. I was inspired by my clients. And do you know who Marie Kondo is?
Yes. Isn't she the one that like hug your clothes or
Yes.
yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
She's a
Yeah.
professional organizer. But
Okay.
when you watch her show on Netflix, it's like she helps you clean your house in this therapeutic way. So that's my goal for meaningful cleaning. I
I
want
love it.
to it's a therapeutic housekeeping service.
I
I
love
want
it.
to help people understand those people. It's not for everybody, but
Mm-hmm.
those people who may be struggling to keep their spaces clean due to anxiety, depression, or whatever,
Yes.
understand what may be connected to that. It could be trauma, it could be an overwhelmed life, work-life balance, whatever it is. Heal that piece while organizing and cleaning their space. Sometimes people just need a helping hand to do that, right? To get started. So that's the goal of the meaningful cleaning that I've started. But also I do some commercial stuff too. But
That is dope. Like I mean, I know Marie does it, but like to have somebody like you're in Pittsburgh, but like have somebody like within reach to be able to do that and do it in such a way to help you navigate your mental and emotional. It's just wow, I love it. Now, will you be traveling?
I actually have come to Erie to do it before.
Okay.
So I don't mind traveling.
Okay. If
Especially
the
I'm in
ticket is
Erie all
right,
the
if the
time.
price is right, don't be thinking she coming up nowhere for it's like, no, let me stop. This is her business, but I'm saying that was the business mindset of me kicking in for a minute. We
I'm
have
in Erie all the time though, so I would do it.
yes.
Yeah.
So okay, and I'm gonna get your information for the show notes for all that so you can, you know, get your people connected to you, even that live in Pittsburgh. Christine, she said, wonderful interview. We thank you. So before I let you go, I have a few questions I always like to ask, and I definitely want to make sure I ask you before I let you go. So, my first question, with you being in the mental health world, I would love to hear your take on this question, but what Divinely Crown is all about, self love and confidence. So I always like to ask, on your journey, what does confidence look like for you, or what does confidence mean to you?
I think for me, confidence is this growing thing, something that
Mhm.
I'm growing into as I enter my third. Well, I'm in my 30s, but
Yeah, yeah. We still
um,
entering. We still. It's like not. We're
we
in
still
here.
we have to
We're in
cuss.
here. Yeah.
But it's something that's grown for me. I feel like I was taught to be very humble, but I'm
Mm,
learning that you can be humble but also confident at the same
yeah.
time. Again, that duality of
Yeah.
having and be engulfing both spaces at the same time.
Mhm, mhm,
Um, but yeah, also it's like embracing you for whoever or whatever the
mhm.
package comes in. We just especially with us millennials, we love to talk about ourselves, but
We do. That is really. I watched this video, and that was like it was like the things millennials are like. They love to talk about themselves. We really do. We took
yes,
self love to a whole nother level. Like
yes,
okay.
yes. But I think the media played such a role in the beauty standard and what
Mhm.
we thought and if you didn't fit that,
Yeah.
it's like, no, I'm trash. Right.
Yeah.
So just embracing my nose, embracing my
Yeah.
skin. That was one thing I feel like maybe my mom did a good job with it. Like I always love my brown skin. I'm
Yeah.
like, y'all don't have to like it. I love it.
I
It's
love it.
okay. But I know some people struggle with that.
Mhm.
Right. So just embracing the package,
Yes.
whatever it's wrapped up in.
Yes, I love that. I love it. So I like to flow right into my other question that I ask all of my queens. So add to this in your early 30, on the cusp of 30s self, and through this journey you've been on, what would you tell young little Michelle?
Um, you're worthy
Mm,
and have gratitude. I feel
mhm,
like in order to like have the things and
mhm,
to be content with where you're at and also going towards the things, you need to have gratitude. So
mhm.
always have gratitude for what you have, what's in your hand.
Yeah,
But also, um, yeah, understand your worth.
yeah,
And I love this. That's the work you do, is helping people understand their worth. That's so
yeah,
important because it affects how they move throughout the world,
yeah,
decisions they make. So understanding the worth, I wish, that's God always, like I said, God gave me like a snapshot of what I was supposed to be doing, not the full picture. And I think he did it that way for me because I didn't know my worth. I'd be like, no,
yeah.
I don't belong in that space. Right. So understand your worth and gratitude.
I love it. I love it. And real quick, your husband, he said, "My little chocolate."
He's a
I'm
hot
not
mess.
putting your comments up here anymore. I'm playing.
Yes, delete it.
Oh, we're glad you love your little chocolate drop. So I always like to leave the floor, the throne. I'm gonna call it like the throne since you're my divinely crowned guest. Um, anything you wish I would have asked you, anything you want to promote, whatever. The throne is yours, and you can say whatever you gotta say before I let you go.
I just want to say, Davina, thank you for having this platform for women like me to be on and for others to observe. Is so helpful, it's impactful. I listen to your podcast all the time.
Oh
Um, it's
man.
encouraging. While I'm cleaning those spaces, I'm listening. So it's
Oh,
just encouraging. I always leave with a message, with something to chew on.
oh,
So I'm thankful for you being obedient and doing the work. It's important, even on those hard days.
mm,
You push through and you're doing it. So I have gratitude for you.
thank you. Thank you. And Michelle gets her, I'm about to give Michelle her flowers. So, my first way of saying, giving you your flowers is I will never forget. I don't even know if I launched this yet, but I knew, no, I didn't launch this yet, but I was like, girl, you sent me on Instagram. You're like, she reminds me of you. It was a podcast. And I was like, well, guess what? I'm getting ready to start mine.
Mhm.
So just I thank you for believing in me, always, giving encouraging words when you see me. Even when it comes to my relationship with your sister, Monique, like it was always from the beginning, like, I'm so glad you are my sister's friend. Like, I'm so glad. And that means a lot to me because friendship is important to me. And I've been through a lot of things with friendship. And my relationship, which I'm gonna get Monique on here one day, but she is total opposite of me and you. She's like low key in her backpack,
She
and
needs to
so
be on the show though.
yeah. Oh, I told her you gotta get you. You're not gonna be my friend anymore. Say that. But either way, just I appreciate you always just being kind and loving and genuine to me. I appreciate the work you're doing as a Black female therapist, and just pouring out yourself wholeheartedly. Like you are, listen, I'm rooting for you heavy. I can't wait to have my own house so you can come help heal me while I'm here. But even as you're on your journey, when you're done paying off your baby,
Yes.
we gotta laugh on this because it's just literally what
Yes.
we do. But
Mhm.
I just really pray that God is able to continue to bless you with, your future children, your marriage, and just continue to be the light you are, because you are truly a light. So thank you for being on here and being obedient. We talk about obedient even before we got on here, like I'm being obedient. So thank you for being obedient with me, because it's truly appreciated. Even your words you said to me, like, I see you, sis. I'm proud of you. And this is not the last time you're gonna be seeing Michelle on here, for sure. Especially, I'm already having things in my head like, oh, we're gonna need her for a few more
I'm
things.
excited. I'm excited
Yes.
what you got going on. So
Thank
thank you.
you. Thank you. So let me see. We got some more comments real quick. Christine said facts. I can't remember what that was too. I'm sorry, but she said I definitely will be watching in the future. Very interesting.
She's
Thank
good.
you.
Hmm.
Alexis, she said yes. That is another family member. We got Kyle. He said Mo, her mama, Mama Quan. Oh, Mama Quan. Real quick, I gotta tell the story. So when I first was meeting their mother, she would call me Delvina. Delvina. So I said, you know what, you're not Mama Quinn, you're Mama Quan. So now it's like this running joke. Hey, Mama
Yes.
Quan. And then Alexis said LOL. So yeah, so I'm gonna click you off, and then I will talk after this
Okay.
debrief. But once again, I just want to say thank you. You guys, make sure that you go, and you do have a Instagram for your business?
Yes.
Okay, and a Facebook?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll get the show in the show notes that you'll hear on the audio, because I don't normally put them on the video. But either way, stay connected with Michelle. She's definitely someone you want to stay connected to. So thank you, Michelle. Like I said, I'm going to click you off, close up, and then we will talk.
Okay.
That was good, y'all. I hope you enjoyed that. We were on here for an hour and 32 minutes, which means this was good. Not saying all my honestly, I will say real quick, I have been enjoying this ride through the podcast world and these interviews. I have been telling people lately, like, this was not how it was supposed to be, but I'm glad that God allowed this to move the way it has been moving, and I'm enjoying every last one of these divinely crowned conversations. So I just thank everybody that tuned in tonight and liked it, shared it, interacted, watched. Like, I truly appreciate you all for your continuous support. Remember to like this video, share this video, follow Divinely Crowned Conversations podcast on YouTube, on Spotify, and on Apple Podcasts. Remember, the Divinely Crowned Lovers and Friends Soiree is coming up February 11th. Get your tickets if you're in the area. I've even had people say, weather permitting, they're coming to travel in. So get your tickets. You don't want to miss the first Divinely Crowned event of the year. I'm just saying. You already know I can put on an event. So just come and join. Tickets you can find on Eventbrite. And yes, so until next time, remember, you are divinely crowned. Bye.